Happy day, happy day, happy day. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Okay. Let's get into this. Let's see, where are we? Cool. Hi, guys. Hi. Happy full moon. Happy full moon. Happy, happy, happy full moon. Okay. Here we go. So, welcome to this, the Edible Spirit live full moon broadcast. It is a full moon in Aries. Welcome to the fall. We're here, even though we saw you on Sunday. If you haven't checked it out, we do have a Edible Spirit live equinox transmission, which includes, which is entirely a ritual that we did for the equinox. You can find that at ediblespirit.com/live, or you can subscribe to YouTube and see everything there, or not subscribe to YouTube and just see everything there. But that ritual is up. All of this stuff is going on. For those of you who don't know, we do these new moon and full moon streams every couple weeks with the intention of giving you a chance to check in and synchronize your shit with the lunar cycles, with the new moons and the full moons. When the moon is new, the moon and the sun are in alignment in the same sign. When the moon is full, they're across the zodiac, across the sky. They're in opposite signs. So right now the sun is in Libra and the moon is in Aries. And the birds like that. We are coming to you from Martha's Vineyard. That's why we have these beautiful KB shingles behind. And I think actually we're going to be talking a little bit about eras and chapters and pages turning and the like. We did Aura Picks at a wonderful equinox event the other night. And pretty much everybody we encountered, even though the Libra equinox, which happened on Saturday, is all about balance and like the middle path and equal balance of light and dark, there's also like the fulcrum energy of the equinox, which is like you come in this side, you hit that corner and you do a bank shot into like a whole new trajectory. We'll see what comes through today, but we think that's sort of what seems to be going on. But so if you haven't tuned into these before, basically what we do is we gather, we do a little astrological check-in, we do some little readings, usually card readings for the elements, and then we give you little miniature suggestions for ritual to help you harness and align and enjoy all of these harness and align and enjoy all of these delicious things that are going on in the sky right now. So to really harness the power of the full moon. So remembering astrological check-in. So full moon is in 2-week cycles, new moon to full moon to new moon to full moon to new moon. One of the best ways to seize control of your life and energy back from the patriarchy is to not fucking pay attention to bank holidays and to try to pay a little more attention to the lunar cycles. Because when your body is in alignment with the moon, you know, the moon doesn't pay your taxes, but it keeps you in the flow. So we check in with these cycles so that we can align with these natural energies. Theory is from new moon, from new moon to full moon, the energy is growing because we go from a dark moon when it's new to a full moon when it's fully bright. So that's what's happening. The energy of the last couple of weeks is cresting now, right? From 2 weeks ago until now. And now the fullness of the energy of Aries is expressing itself through us. Aries is a very, I love my Aries babies. Aries are known to be pushy, to be fiery, to be aggressive, to be energized. But I like the word assertive better than aggressive because thanks to a couple dear sweet Aries who I have come to know and love, I'm starting to understand the Aries vibes just a little bit more. It's assertion, it's assertiveness, it's individuality, it's truth. And the statement that goes along with Aries is I am. Pure and simple, not I am grateful, not I am whole. None of that, just I am, right? Aggro, assertive, strong. So theory is that over the last couple of weeks, the energy of I am has been building and cresting, and there's something fresh. I'm thinking whatever you've been working with during this eclipse, whatever you've been building and growing and nurturing since Mars, since when the sun was in Aries, right? Through the spring and through the summer, whatever you are more deeply engaging, nurturing, honoring, trimming the fat away from now so that you can really sink your teeth into the deliciousness of your own cycles of manifestation, right? Whatever that is, we're kind of interpreting that as the Aries full moon. It's like this sense of, oh God, I know who I feel who I am, right? Full moon in Aries, I feel who I am. And I even, the moon is pretty closely conjunct to Chiron. So it's like, I feel who I am, what I need to work on, what needs to be paid attention to, what needs to be healed relative to this like balance between my own individual needs and, you know, not even the needs of the collective, the needs of the other, right? The, how can I define myself while still drawing my strength from relationships and from community and from humanity, right? From the people around me. And then what's really interesting is that, yeah, so I got to draw this out for you actually. So we got the moon, we got the sun, and then right over here today is Saturn. So we got this triangle, right, which is formed from two squares, moon, sun, Saturn. Saturn's in Capricorn. So Saturn in Capricorn, let's see, how's it coming through? Hard lessons about how to persist with authority. Interesting. Okay, so finding balance between asserting self, and drawing strength from relationships. This is channeled. I'm not an astrologer. At least I'm getting more used to it, but I don't fancy myself an astrologer. So asserting self and drawing strength from relationships. So we're learning hard lessons about how to persist with authority while reckoning with all this shit that got stirred up around the equinox about our individuality and our relationships, and really just the balance between self-assertion and kind of like inclusion and compassion. Actually, it's funny. I was talking to my mom today about Saturn, about kind of like, isn't it funny that the thing that we take for granted the most about American politics, that like the right is interested in self-interest and the left is interested in collective interests, that like we allow that polarity and duality to sustain itself because it's like, oh, it's two-party politics. It's Republicans and Democrats. Like, that's totally normal. Like, half the population should be really into serving their own needs and fuck everyone else. And the other half of the population are like pussies, you know, like, so important. That's like oh, thank you, my dear. It's because I'm on the vineyard. My love Harriet just told me that my hair looks great. Never looked better. But it's because I'm on the vineyard and it's very moist. It's very humid here. Okay. So basically, this feeling that like of Saturn and Capricorn, learning hard lessons about how can we possibly sustain ourselves while pretending like there's this standoff between, you know, individual needs and collective needs. Like the individual matters and the collective matters. We can't just give everybody a handout, but we can't just make everybody fend for themselves. There's kind of this question about balance, really. That's what the equinox called in, a question of balance between myself, how I feel, what my truth is, and the power, the energy, the life I get through my relationships, and through really the Libra energy is just considering the other, right? Understanding the other, going outside of myself. So self-serving versus, you know, other serving. And so that's where we started with this, is that over the last couple of weeks, the Aries energy is building, so that right now we probably have a lot of energy inside of ourselves saying, this is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am, especially regarding whatever you've been working on throughout the fall. I mean, throughout the spring and summer. This is who I am, this is who I am. I feel it, I know it. But then Saturn comes in saying, Cool. Well, what are you going to do about it? You get who you are, but now you got to call in this Capricorn energy and learn about what are you going to do? What do you need to know? What are you going to work with in order to persist, right? In this balance of I know who the fuck I am and what my truth is. And I don't live in a box. I live in relationship to everyone and everything, even myself, even the universe. So how do we persist while maintaining some gorgeousness of this balance? Yes. Okay, wait. I promise to persist in asserting my truth without being inhuman. Without being inhuman. And I am willing, interesting, to square off and have difficult conversations, difficult convos, and learn difficult lessons, not just about how I'm going to sustain this balance, but about how we are going to sustain a balance, right? A persistence between self-interest and selfless interest. Ooh, that's so hot. Selfless interest. See, I'm not that good. That just comes through. How are we going to sustain balance with persistence between self-interest and selfless interest? So this is when we come to just this little part, and let's see how we're going to see how the cards back this up in 1 second. So bear with me. But this is how we integrate this energy of the era changing. Seasons are shifting. So there's already that kind of chapter turning, but just I keep having this hunch that something really big is going to shift over the next season between the fall and the winter. And that we're all kind of grappling with this. Like, what the fuck are we going to do about all of this crap, about all of this stuff that's going on in the larger collective, but also in our own little lives, you know? We're making tremendous progress and accomplishing a lot, and yet we seem to keep squaring off. We seem to be at odds between self versus selflessness, selfishness versus selflessness. Holy shit. I mean, that's what this is calling it. So, P.S., so that, you know, I always say I'm not an astrologer. I am a channel. Okay, I've worked as a channel. I've trained as a channel. What that means is that the energy moves through, the information comes through, and I'm doing my best to decipher it for you real time so that we can ultimately have a conversation about it. And what we're attempting to do over the next few months is to roll out ways for us to continue having this conversation, to keep talking about stars and energy and magic and healing in you know, delicious, collective, useful ways. That's really why we do what we're doing here. My cousin told me yesterday that she listens to my videos once a week, and I burst into tears. I was like, I do them in a vacuum. So, and she tells people about them. So what I hope that you get out of this stuff is that whatever you do take, you spread, because there's so much crappy information going out there. I couldn't give you crap if I tried. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm my dad's son, you know, so I'm a big squish ball. So I'm trying to give you the good information that's coated with deliciousness and light so that you can take it, and even in a little bit of a trickle down effect, just like driplet, droplet it out. We try not to talk bullshit here. So squaring off and learning hard lessons about selfishness versus selflessness. I mean, that's a read. I'm going to call it. That's what this moment is about. Learning selfishness, learning, squaring off and learning about selfishness versus selflessness. Selfish versus selfless. So now what we're going to do is go in here and give you some cards. And we're using the same format that we use for our weekly readings, the Elements of Spirit, where we give you a read for the ether, which is the whole wheel of the zodiac. And then we give you readings for each of the elements earth, which is 3 signs, water, which is 3 signs, fire, which is 3 signs, and air, which is 3 signs. The descriptions of that are Googleable, and they're all over my websites and various materials, ediblespirit.com/elements for more on the elements of spirit. Those are weekly readings that we do every week for you. And the way it works is that the ether, which is the first card I'm going to pull here, applies to everyone, and then we go off into the individual elements according to your sun sign. So I'll walk you through it. But usually what we do when we gather here, using the Thoth deck, homeboy, favorite, buddy, scorpionic, Rosicrucian, blah, blah, blah. We're using the Thoth deck to ask a question: what is the best way for all of us to harness the energy? Ooh, that dropped out. Harness the energy of this full moon, to work with it, to dance with it, to vibe with it. And yeah. Love that. There's lots of angles in this. The Princess of Swords. I feel like this dropped out to affirm for me and my own insecure channel self that squaring off is definitely the right idea. That's why I say it's like a chapter turning, because there's this moment of reckoning where we're sitting here right now being like, cool. Personally, when I go through big cycles of change, I like take as long as possible to change. And it's like, okay, I'm ready. And now what do I do? Why don't I do a spell to manifest that? Like, why don't I? Wait, no. Like, I keep coming up with other things to do that get in the way of the actual page turn. And this is like, we're looking at the spine of the book. We're looking at the spine of the book and getting ready to turn that page. And it's like, bitch, that page is not going to turn itself. Geez, that's funny, because theoretically time would be turning the page, but today, no, I'm saying the page is not going to turn itself. We are standing here. Why? Because a square in astrology, when there's an opposite, right? Opposite sun, opposite moon, square Saturn in Capricorn, square presents tension that must be resolved. Must be resolved. And if you do follow astrology, Chiron, where the moon is conjunct Chiron, also represents a tension that wants to be resolved, so that the whole system functions and flows, or the whole fucking thing breaks down. So the read we're giving you is that we believe we are in a collective moment where we are squaring off, facing a tension between selfishness and selflessness, which must be resolved in order for the steady, smooth functioning of our individual engines, our collective engines, and our relational engines to sustain themselves, to be able to move forward in persistence with authority. You can't put sawdust in an engine and expect it to run. It grinds and then it breaks down. You know, what is the fuel, right? Okay, so this is not the card for the ether. This was just something that fell out. Now we're going to see what is the best way for us to all harness the most maximal deliciousness of this gorgeous, glorious full moon in Aries. Yeah, I want you. I choose you, Charizard. I choose you, Squirtle. Okay, ether. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, I'll explain. It's adjustment. It's Lady Justice. It's Libra. This is literally the major arcana tarot manifestation of Ms. Libra. You see the Libra glyph? Libra. So how can we harness this? How can we work with this moment? Work with whatever came up during the equinox, right? You went through that. It's one of the beautiful things about the season-changing signs. It's like, if you kind of have a basic idea of what that means and what the astrology is, or even just what it means to flip the pages of the seasons, you can relate. That's the point. It's an observable solar phenomena. So we can see, we know that something's changed, but after the equinox event we did the other night, and all of you beautiful souls who I know have been working so fucking hard and to like just not be shitty, right? To like find the balance between the selflessness and the selfishness, right? Self-care versus care of others. You know, we've been doing this. This just says that whatever that stench is around you, whatever the flavor, the aroma of the moment is, that's the flavor of the moment. That's what's actually going on. So if it's simple, fortune teller terms, work, life, love. Is it about relations and love? Is it about, you know, work? Is it about your own existential life? What have you seeded since the spring that's grown to maturation through the summer, that's dropping its fruit right now, that's ready to be worked with, balanced, trimmed anew. One of my old teachers who always taught cycles of manifestation like this, she was like, it's the fall. So we roll up to the fall and we got to trim some stuff back so that, when the plant goes into dormancy over the winter, it can sprout afresh and anew right in the summer. So it's a great moment for maintenance and balancing and really looking at the intentions that you set 6 months ago and seeing how they've grown and being willing to cut some shit out, right? And trim some fat away so that you can move forward with what is working kind of gloriously unimpeded, okay? Now, so that's the ether. So the ether really just says, try to sustain this balance and be willing to learn the hard lessons about selfishness versus selflessness. And another way of saying it, instead of hard lessons, is just go for it. Work with the balance between selfishness and selflessness, right? Don't just serve yourself and don't just be a pushover, right? Try to find a beautiful middle path. And this Aries new moon is going to take that inner truth and sort of force you to learn how to find some balance with it, okay? Air signs, which include Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. You're next. What's the best way for the air signs, Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius, to harness the glorious power of this full moon? Great. It's the Hermit reversed. So this is, you're in the midst of it. You're in the midst of your journey. You are very squarely on your path. You might feel disoriented. You might feel like you're in a bit of a swirl, but that's because your path was a little too solitary and a little too isolated for a minute. So you are being compelled by the energy of this full moon to not just deal with your own interests, Mr. Hermit, who wants to be by himself and journey into the life, who wants to be by themselves and journey into the light, using the light. No, your journey is going to make you deal with other people. Your journey is going to make you deal with hell, which is other people, and also transcendence, which is like everybody merged together, right? So in order to grow now, in order to continue following through and working your path, you've got to deal with other people, okay? That is for the air signs. Now we move into the fire signs, which includes Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. This is the one. Okay. Best way for you, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, to work with the energy of this full moon. We got the 9 of discs, which is reversed here. In a way, this feels project related. It feels a little, not necessarily work related, but just whatever you've been working on, project related. It's saying like, yeah, no, you know what? You have attained a certain level of authority. You have attained a certain level of what we could even say like, yeah, no, you've attained a certain level of authority, but there's still work to be done. There's still balancing to be done. And again, it's like your, in a way, I want to say your selfless interests got you here. So now you got to attend to yourself in your project, or your selfish interests got you here, and now you got to balance it out a little bit more by making sure that what you really care about is not just blasting through, like nuking through your life, that it is actually inclusive of others' points of view, and others' authority and others' autonomy. So presume that you are where you're supposed to be and that things are as they should be right now, right? Especially if you feel like you're in a swirl, like the air signs, right? Presume that you are where you should be, and that specifically that things are as they should be, but just that to sustain the integrity of things with authority and deliciousness and persistence, you if you've been a little more self-serving recently, try to loop in the needs of others. And if you've been a little more thinking of others and selfless, then be a little more selfish and make sure that you're attending to your own needs. Okay. Now, moving into the water signs. Oh yeah, someone's calling me. Is it you? No. No, it's you. Okay. So, Princess of Cups comes up. And this says the best way for you all, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, to harness the energy of this next full moon in Aries lunar cycle. It's saying that the things you're realizing about yourself, the fruit that's dropping from the vines, contains unintegrated aspects of yourself that are coming to light. So that Aries energy that we were talking about coming forth and saying, I am, like, this is who I am. There may be a little bit of a sense with us of like, oh, okay. Ooh, okay, this is who I am. This is who I am now. This is where I got to. This is what's going on. The balance here, I think, is to be not so rigid, is to let yourself be a little bit playful and to know that you're facing shadow material, to know that you're facing emotions which have not been readily accessible. So to just, it's not even that you have to proceed gently. I would say proceed playfully. That would be my read for you, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Try to inject a little bit more playfulness into whatever is going on, and specifically into whatever you're learning about the balance between your selfishness and selflessness. Like, even if you have to check yourself so you don't wreck yourself, be playful. Even if you are adjusting. Oh, my girl, there you are. Okay, we're just talking about Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So be more playful. Okay, inject some playfulness into things. Don't take things too seriously because it is that serious. What's coming up are aspects of yourself, of ourselves, which maybe have been in like a keepsake box on a shelf for a minute, but that truth is here right now. And whoever you are today, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, that's what's asking to be balanced out. It's like, own that truth and now figure out how that plays out in your relationships, in your love life, in your work life. And it might be heavy. It might even be a little ugly. So try to be playful about it. Try to inject some, it's not even lightness. It's literally what I looked at when I was looking at it was like mud pies. It's got the energy of like, blah, blah, blah. Like, you guys, this is messy, but like also it's me. So what do you want me to do? In work, it's like, oh, sorry if I'm a little extra, but like, this is how my talents work, you know, and in love, like, this is hard, this is scary. Talk about your feelings, talk about what's coming up, you know, so that, and joke about them even, right? Do like a really freaky deaky Scorpio joke about something that's really serious. Like, you know, oh my God, I'd literally die. Okay. Earth. Best way for you guys, Earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo, to get through the lunar cycle, to harness the power of this lunar cycle, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. This is actually calling upon you to use this Aries energy. So it's fun because I would just say like full speed ahead. Whatever you've been working with, whatever you have been doing, don't balance it out. Be a little more well, I won't say selfish. Be a little more like an Aries. Be a little more assertive in your truth and in your skills and in your, even in your leadership to some extent. Like, don't be afraid to step up and step out and move forward. That's really the vibe. Like, step up, step out, and move forward, and don't apologize. So when we go back to this, it really, I just want to reiterate, it's like we as individuals, we in relation to each other, we as a society are all learning really difficult lessons about ourselves and our selfishness versus others and our selflessness. And, oh, fun. Thank you, guidance. October 5th, Venus goes retrograde. October 8th, Saturn ends its whole retrograde period. It's all done. Hi, you. I love you, Drew. So basically, once we get into Venus retrograde, my sense is that whatever learning you've done about this relationship between your selflessness or your selfishness, whatever learning you've done will yield more fruit and more flow. Whatever learning you haven't done, if you have been obstinately not attending, not turning the page, not trying to think about who am I and what is my truth versus, and what do I need to do for myself versus what do I need to do relative to others or regarding others. If you're not working on that balance or that imbalance is going to work on you. So my sense is that if you are a typically selfish person, and there ain't no problem with that, right? I need to learn to be more selfish, right? Not that I'm super selfless. I literally just like neglect myself and then give everything else. So working on being a little more selfish. The idea is if you are a typically selfish person, it's like, and you don't adjust anything, that selfishness is going to bury you. I think it's going to grow exponentially, and you're going to be confronted with a lot of other selfishness around you. If you lead with selflessness, especially between now, and learn these hard lessons about that balance between selfishness and selflessness between now and October 5th, our theory is that by the time that ping of October 5th comes along, if you've been baking and marinating and enjoying and focusing on and attending to the end of the last season, the chapter turning, and I don't even know what the astrology is of it, but I just feel like there's much bigger chapters turning. My family's selling their restaurant on Martha's Vineyard, which we've owned for 25 years, and it's ending. And I know a lot of other chapter turning, page ending things that are going on right now. So the theory is like, get into the fall, get into the nostalgia, get into the like, to everything turn, 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 there is a season, turn, 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 right? And it's like, go there, mull it over with some mulled cider and make those adjustments. Take a little better care of yourself, or take a little better care of others, integrate yourself more, integrate others more, and basically, whatever happens over the next couple of weeks, more of that gets drawn to you. So try to cultivate the vibration that you want to attract. It seems like that's going to be the lesson that we learned during Venus retrograde. Cultivate the vibration that you want to attract. Otherwise, whatever you're vibrating is what's going to be attracted. Okay? It sounds a little threatening, but I don't think so. I think it's actually more just like karmic. Like, you know, you don't I don't know, you don't scream all around the world, you know, going through your day, rah, 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 and expect people to come up and whisper to you. If you whisper, people whisper. If you talk, people talk. If you lead with your heart, people lead with their heart. You know, so I think that's what we're going to really be learning a lot about. What have we created and what is it attracting for us? Okay. Okay. So here's your ritual. It's not going to be a ding, 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 ding ritual today. It's actually going to be a little bit more of like a game, right? Where you, in the middle, you're putting the thing. And then on this side, you're going to put selflessness. And then on this side, you're going to do selfishness, right? Is this life? Is this love? Is this work? And all you're going to do, if you have grapes left over from the equinox ritual, you could use the grapes. You could do it with M&Ms, right? M&Ms. Food, though. You know, edible spirit. I'm me, so food. Use food for magic. M&Ms, grapes. You could do it with pebbles, but wouldn't it be more fun if they were like chocolate pebbles? 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 Chocolate? And then basically, if you watch the equinox live stream, we did a very luxurious ritual. We forgot to do the readings, but I don't think it was necessary because it was more of a ritual equinox. We do the readings for the new moons and the full moons, but we're going to kind of continue with this. So what you want to do is you could light a candle, get in the mood, whatever it is, but you want to be in that fall kind of mood. You want to feel warm. You want to be drinking something warm or drink a glass of wine, like whatever you want. Smoke a J, who cares? But the whole point is that you're supposed to be thoughtful about what is the thing. Oh, gotta show you the diagram. This is the thing. It's all fucking reversed. Oh, well. This is the thing. Life, love, work, the project, you know, whatever it is that you're musing on, whatever you're mulling over, what am I mulling? And then on the right, is selflessness, and on the left is selfishness. And what you want to be asking yourself are, what are the selfless and selfish actions I can assert to persist with balance and authority? So that's I can't censor my channel. So I mean, I could, but I don't. Why would I? It's good info. What are the selfless and selfish actions I can assert to persist with balance and authority relative to the thing, relative to the work project, the relationship, relative to the life, whatever it is? And then what you're going to do is take one of your M&Ms and think about it. So I'm thinking about love. What can I do to be more selfless in my relationship that I'm thinking about right now? Well, I can talk less and listen more. And I put an M&M in selflessness. What can I do to be more self-serving, right? Selfish in relationship. I can draw better boundaries, and I put the M&M in there. And you could actually do it like this too, right? And actually just write and say better boundaries, and say listen more, talk less, right? So you could fill it with this. That would be very sexy too, because then you would have a record. But I'm all about passive healing. I'm all about things that you can do that work magically, so that you don't have to think and fucking keep notes and papers and tabs everywhere. So that's why I would do it with M&Ms, because in the end, they're magically charged with the power of your intentions, and you can eat them when it's over. Because that's the whole point, is that we want you to look at the balance between the selfish actions and the selfless actions, and recognize that 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They're opposite sides of the scale. Sometimes a little more selfishness is called for, sometimes a little more selflessness is called for. The whole point of this ritual for this full moon in Aries is to get you to tune into that ideal balance within yourself, and to, as we said, orient yourself in this moment so that you can promise to persist in asserting your truth without being inhuman, and being willing to square off and have difficult conversations and learn difficult lessons about how we are going to sustain balance between self-interest and self-interest and selfless interest. How are we going to sustain ourselves and balance and society while attending to this balance between the self and selflessness? That's why I think it's the beginning of a new era. And that's what we'll leave you with today, is just to remind you to look within yourself and to find your stillest, chillest, most luxuriously delicious space, even if it's only like one hair follicle, where you're like, that's the place. That's where I'm still chill and so fucking delicious. When you do that, when you pause to align with the lunar cycles or the equinox, or to do any of this stuff, you are taking your power back, and you are not taking in stuff that's being fed to you, right? You're feeding yourself, right? One of the old slogans for EdibleSpirit was, one of the blog actually used to be called, or maybe it's still called, Eat Your Spirit, right? Eat your spirit. And that's the theory, is that, like, if you're feeding yourself the cosmic universal good, then all of the societal refuse, all the trash that we're made to ingest, or that we passively ingest all the time, is balanced. And maybe it becomes a little bit easier to not be caught up in two-party push-pull. Maybe it becomes a little bit easier to think about transcendental solutions to seemingly immovable problems, okay? That's our vibe for you this cycle. We'll see you in a couple weeks for another new moon live stream. We're going to hold off on Elements of Spirit this week, just because I got a lot of shit going on in the vineyard, and I probably won't have much time to focus, let alone channel the elements for you and your glorious punanis this week. So we'll see you following week. We'll see you a week after that for another live stream. And we love you. From all of us to all of you, happy fall. You are so delicious. Ciao, ciao.